Greetings, it's Iain from Arty-Ho. Welcome to another week, and we're going to kick off this week with a request and a bit of prog. And now this band, they're called Jonesy. Now, they're one of the bands that sort of went under the radar a little bit. They were formed in London in 1971 by John Evan Jones, hence the name Jonesy, and he brought in American-born keyboard player Jimmy Caleth. David Paul was on the bass and Jim Payne on the drums. Well, how do you describe them? They was described as a 70s band in the style of King Crimson, but with unusual element of electronic trumpet from Alan Bown. So they either had sort of a prog band with trumpets, and they used to, and also they had people like Plug Thomas on percussion and backing vocals. Now they've made 5 albums. They broke up, but they came back in 2011. So they've got a bit of a history. They're not a bad band. I think they're pretty good, some interesting sounds, and with them trumpets it did make it a little bit different. So here we go. Coming in at number 5 is their 5th, I suppose, current or last album that was released in 2011. It's their first album they'd recorded together since the mid-70s, and it's called Dark Matter. So this has got Trevor Gypsy Evan Jones on the bass, Richard Plug Thomas on drums, Alan Bown on horse, and Jamie Caleth on the keyboards, with also Bernie Hagley on flute, Peter Hutchinson, Neil Murphy, James Covington, Tony Clark, Andrew Goosen who play guitars. So the first track on here is a bit of a little mini epic called Parallel Universes. It's split up like all good prog songs. The first bit is just called The Void, which is like an intro. It's got some lovely keyboard work from Jamie on this, swirly little bits, some backward vocals, quite eerie, atmospheric, really good. And that goes straight into There's Someone Here. A really good song. The bit in the middle, it's 6 minutes long, is really good. You got some lovely keyboard swells, some great drumming here. It's a pretty good track. Then we have it, Silently Screaming. It's a bit of a space rock in place as well. Not bad at all. I quite like that. Then we get a real epic, and it's called Cold Blood. Now this is split up into 2 pieces again. The first piece is like an intro, and it's called To Sleep, A Hearts to Dream. It's a bit gentle, but this track is actually my favourite track. It's got some lovely flute on this from Bernie, and it's got some nice guitar work. Not quite sure who does the guitar work, but it's really good. And then the second part of this is called The Nightmare / Welcome to the Land of the Lizard. Oh, it takes a while to get going, but once it does, boy are the riff's great keyboard swirls. It's a really strong track. It's my favourite, as I said. Then we get Maybe We're All Madmen. The vocal on this is eerie. It really is eerie. This is Trevor Evan Jones singing on it. It really is gentle. Quite like that track. And then we have the Dark Matter itself. It's quirky. The keyboards are some nice gentle bits, really sung. And another of my favourites on here is the Bown Supremacy. This is a 2011 prog track played in the style of 1970s prog. That's great. It's got some nice piano in it, some nice sound. It's a really good track in the album. Okay, it isn't a bad album. They have tried to create the old days of sort of thing. It worked reasonably well. It's got some great stuff on this, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 4 now. This is a real strange one. Now this is called Sudden Prayers Make God Jump. It was released in 2002, but it was actually recorded in 1974, and it's the 4th album. According to the linear notes, the band released Growing After and Keeping Up, they sort of went away from a string of broken promises from their record company. There was a big hoo-ha. Eventually the Jones brothers decided to make one last album under the name Jonesy, and there's a lot of red tape, so it didn't get actually released until 2002. So on here we've got John Evan Jones, Trevor Jones, David Potts on drums, Ken Elliott on keyboards, and Bernard Hagley electric saxes. So the first track is called Dark Room. This is brilliant. It's very Van de Graaff generated with the electric saxes on it. It's a really good. The effects are good. It's really spacey and dreamy. It's an excellent track. Then we have Running. Now this has got a combination of flute and saxophone. It's absolutely amazing. This is like a fusion of a Focus and Van de Graaff generator. It really is good. Bad Dreams comes next. Really nice vocal here. Some lovely Mellotron in there as well. Always makes it sound good. A bit of Mellotron. Good track. The Lights Have Changed. My favourite track on here. The keyboard solo on here from Gypsy Jones is absolutely amazing. It's got lovely swirls and richness. Old Gentleman's Relief. An interesting vocal here. Not quite if it's Gypsy or John singing it, but it's really good. Excellent track. And then the last track is called Anthem. Second favourite track on here. We've got some lovely flute and piano, and it is an anthem, proper anthem. Great way to end the album. Having waited 28 years for this release, was it worth it? Of course it was. There's some great tracks on here. Really strong album. It's a shame that it wasn't put out in 1974, but we're glad we've got it now. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, coming in at number 3 is their second album and the first of 2 albums they released in 1973 called Keeping Up. So it's Gypsy Jones on electric bass guitar, recorder and vocals, John Evan Jones on guitar and vocals, Jamie Callett on the keyboards, Plug Thomas on the drums, Alan Bown on anything that you could blow, basically, flugelhorns, trumpets, and did a bit of percussion as well. First track on here is Masquerade. The guitar work is very good between the two Jones brothers. Really good. The bass line on this is absolutely brilliant from Gypsy. It really is good. Nice keyboard swells from Jamie. Really good track to open the album. Sunset and Evening Star. The wonderful tones of the Mellotron come through on this. The vocals good. I love this track. Then we get this short little track called Preview. Nice little bit of drumming on here from Plug Jones. Nice thing on them. We had some trumpet from Alan coming in, the strings, the piano. Really good little snippet before it goes into a track called Questions and Answers. Now this is more of a jazz fusion track. It's got a jazzy sound to it, some great piano, Mellotron, very gentle giant in places as well. And then we get Critique with Exceptions, an absolute belter of a track. It's an epic. Love the guitar work, and this is some nice effects and nice tones, but the highlight of the track is about 3/4 of the way through. You get this incredible guitar solo. Then we have this little duet. It's 49 seconds. It's between a guitar and a flugelhorn, which is really nice. Next song is just called Song. It starts off with a nice gentle piece of flute and acoustic guitar. Sounds very medieval, and then the lovely rich mellotron comes in and fills it with just oozes prog. And then my favourite track on here is the last track. It's called Children. It's a little bit different. Has some great drumming on this. The flugelhorn is the start of the show on this. It just makes it more interesting. Brass thrown into any sort of prog, or like saxophones like in Van der Graaf generated, just creates a little bit more sound and something different. It's a fantastic track. Not a bad track on this from top to bottom. It's progressive music at its best. Trumpets, flugelhorns and flutes. Very musical. I enjoy this album, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.7. Okay, then coming in at number 2 is the debut album from 1972, No Alternative. So it's John Jones, Jimmy Cayuth, David Paul and Jim Payne. First track is the best track on the album. It's the title track, No Alternative. It starts off with a marching brass band with the coming at the thing, and then it sort of slithers into this amazing prog piece. The vocal from John Jones is absolutely amazing. The drumming from Jim Payne is lots of little half beats as well. Killer guitar solo, and it sort of melts away. Really good track. Then we get another great track, Heaven. It's a little bit more gentle. There's some light string sounds. The mellotron is sort of there, but in the background it just adds a little extra layer. Great vocal from John. Another really strong track. Mind of the Century. The bass line on this from David Paul is fantastic. It really is funky. The mellotron again. The percussion on this is great. Great track. Then we have a track called 1958. The drumming from Jim Payne on this is absolutely brilliant. The time signature on that drum beat is really interesting, and it seems everything sort of geared around that drum beat. Absolutely brilliant track. Then we get Pollution, another long track dominated by mellotron and a bass line. It's just got a wonderful tone to it. Another fantastic little track. Ricochet starts off with a lovely piece of guitar, but it's that mellotron again that just oozes is the sound of prog. The middle section, the drum and bass work is absolutely brilliant. What a way to end the album, and how it fades out with that marching band again. I think this is a very underrated debut album. Not a bad track on it. Again, it is a fantastic album, and they should have got more praise and more recognition. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 1 then. Okay, from 1973, it's their third. It was their second release of 1973, and it is called Growing. A lot of people on this one. We got Alan Bowell on the trumpet percussion, Ken Elliott on synthesizers, Bernie Hagley on saxophone, Gypsy Jones guitars and vocals, John Evan Jones guitars, Jamie Calleth on keyboards, the one and only Mr. Morris Pert on percussion. He worked with Mike Oldfield, of course, and Plug Drum Thomas on the drums and vocals. First track starts off with an epic Can You Get That Together. It's a very funky jazz prog fusion, mellotron. The percussion from Morris is brilliant, backed up with the drums of Plug. It's just a great track to open the album. Waltz for Yesterday is the second track. It's got a little bit of synthesizer on here, which is pretty good. You know, this is 1973, synthesizer's a new thing. This is a very bluesy jazz number with some great guitar solo and a little bit of piano. It's just got lots going on there, really good. Know Who Your Friends Are. Love the guitar effects on this. It's got that jazzy feel to it as well, and that's what I like about this album. It's got that jazz element to it. Title track, Growing, my favourite track on here. Keyboards, swirls on the synths, the piano work, the drumming on here is brilliant. It's just fantastic. It's a great vocal, very good vocal. Hard Road. What I like about Jonesy is the brass they incorporated into their music. It just sounds really, it's a funky bass line. I just love the sound of this. And the last track is just called Jonesy. It's a great track to end the album. It's 11 minutes long. It combines jazz, blues, soul and prog all turned up into this wonderful fusion track. It's a very underrated track, and it's probably my favourite track by Jonesy. As I said, this album's got it all. Jazz, blues, funk. Very underrated and totally forgotten about. I just love this album. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.3. So there we go. A great band. I'm sure you've all heard of them, but you haven't, go and check them out. Most of their stuff is on YouTube. So go and check them out. This is one of those bands I'd heard of but not heard much of their music, but boy, I love them now. Okay, coming up next is classic album review, and this month we're going to do a bit of rockabilly. Now, I'm lucky I've got a friend, Lee. Everyone knows Lee. He's has his Facebook page about the rock show with Johnny Walker, but he is sort of a bit of a buff on rockabilly. So I asked Lee to give me 4 rockabilly albums that are quite important to him and quite important to rockabilly in itself. So that's what he done. So this is all Lee's thoughts on rockabilly. So we'll be looking at the first one he's chosen. That's Gene Vincent and the Blue Caps. Okay, I will see you for that later. Bye for now.